Welcome back, everybody. We are the Alter Ego Brothers. I'm Nick, that's Andy, and today we are talking about Supergirl. But before we do that, please make sure to like and subscribe. It really helps us. When you do that, it really lets YouTube know that you like what we have to do here on the platform. I gave Supergirl a 5 out of 10. With more aliens than Mandalorian and Grogu, Supergirl has very much James Gunn, Guardians of the Galaxy vibes, but really weak storytelling and writing. However, it's not all doom and gloom. I am pretty excited to see Supergirl in the sequel to last year's Superman movie.
So I also landed at a 5 out of 10, and I actually enjoyed the movie more than I'm rating it. And I think this movie could have benefited from James Gunn actually directing it, because that was a surprise to me. I really thought that he would really set the stone with this new DC universe, but I guess I don't really know what happened there. It kind of just reminded me of just kind of early 2000s writing, and it's just a little bit more of a feel-good movie versus the past 10 years of these superhero movies where it gets a little bit too much into the science and then it deviates too much away from the science that it gets too complicated. I liked the simplicity of it, so it was just a good feel-good movie for me.
And with that, smash them together and we got a 5 out of 10, a solid 5. I don't think this is the first time we've agreed. Woo.
Same score? Who knows? I cannot recall the last time we had the same score.
Put it up on the board. What about that, the other thing? Oh my god, okay.
That's your editing.
Shh. Yeah, as you talked about earlier, I am kind of in the same boat. I thought the movie was fine, but there were just certain aspects of it that weigh heavily on my scoring sheet that really just brought it down. And I was like, I don't really see an area where I could give you an extra point. So it is what it is. And one of those areas is the story. So there is a very hard anti-revenge theme going on in Supergirl. I didn't read the comic that this is based off of, so I don't really know the full backstory or anything, but it seemed to be a little hollow for an anti-revenge theme coming from a character who hasn't experienced the downsides to revenge. Like, as far as we know, Kara didn't go out and kill somebody and then feel bad about it later. She's just preaching about it and saying, no, you shouldn't do this because you would feel bad later, without any sort of real world experience to be like, hey, I've been down there, I know. Sure, she has like a sad backstory, and the scenes that were on her home city, can't say planet because it wasn't, her home city were actually the more emotional pieces of the movie. I really enjoyed those pieces and exploring more of what Krypton used to be and the downfall of their society. But then at the end, for Kara to turn around and just kill Krem and just kill Steel at the very end, it blew my mind a little bit. Obviously, there was no getting around that because he was just a bad dude and he was going to continue to do bad things regardless. But I feel like they wrote themselves into a corner where they're like, this thing is bad, this thing is bad. Uh-oh, you have no other choice. And I don't know. I'm not sure that's the story that should have been told in this instance.
Right off the bat, the reason I actually kind of like this storyline is just because it began with about 2 minutes worth of credits. And I was actually talking to my wife about this probably the night before. We watched the first Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire in it. And it goes on for 2 or 3 minutes of just credits at the beginning. And I told her, I kind of miss when movies do this a little bit more often, because especially for a feel-good movie like Superman is, even though it's action-y, it's still kind of chill for what it is. And it kind of just sets the tone and puts you in that mood right before the story actually begins. And I actually enjoy that. They did that here in this movie, and I'm like, I'm digging this. And so that was kind of the anticipation I had as the story developed. And so I was okay with a lot of the kind of just low-hanging fruit writing in there. I do think direction-wise, though, and this is where the cons begin, I thought Ruthie probably had too much screen time. I was a bit confused why she always just happened to find her way back to Kara, sometimes it didn't make sense. And I think there needed to be some separation, and we needed some alone time with Kara, because this is Supergirl, right? But it really feels like Ruthie and Supergirl's helping her. And so I wanted to see a Supergirl movie, not a Ruthie movie. And I think the story could have benefited too by having the main antagonist die a little bit sooner, and then revealing a new antagonist that maybe that leads into the next movie or something like that. I thought the main antagonist was too weak of a character to last the entire time. But I did enjoy Jason Momoa's character in this. I thought DC did him better than what Marvel did. And I don't necessarily think Jason Momoa is a great actor overall, but I find him to be very entertaining. And anytime he popped up on screen, I was thoroughly enjoyed, because he's funny, and I never know what you're gonna get out of him, honestly. So it's like a box of chocolates with Jason Momoa. So I did like that casting. I did think the casting for Kara is really good too. Everything else could have meh.
All right, so that's gonna get into the acting portion. I agree. I think that Millie Alcock as Supergirl was a perfect choice, and I can't wait to see her in future installments as this character. Like you said, it's more of a Ruthie movie, and that's kind of a trend that we've seen lately. We saw that kind of in Toy Story, where it's about a singular character and not like the whole gang or a couple of the characters. We've seen a lot of these movies say, we're this thing, and then actually be a completely different subplot within the movie itself. So I wonder if that's just a weird trend that's starting to happen in Hollywood these days, but they really should just knock it off. I don't know why they're trying to throw in these surprise stories in there, like, just kidding, it's not actually about that character, it's about this character. Moving on though, Jason Momoa as Lobo was really good. He definitely fits the aesthetic. He looks like him. It's the comic book character put to screen. I do think they could have given him a little bit more leeway to do his Lobo thing, but I don't know how much that would have affected the rating of the movie. He's a very dark, doesn't give a shit, will kill anybody who looks at him wrong type of character. You can kind of see that they did that in the fight scene at the end, but you also see that they toned it down a little bit. There wasn't like blood or anything, but I liked Kara's character specifically because she was so normal compared to Superman. And what I mean by that is, like, Superman's like this ultra good guy, right? And Kara is more of a case of how a normal person who suddenly got superpowers would probably act and behave. I thought that was a really fun take to the character going along. I thought the whole Red Sun thing was going to be more of a big plot point in the story, but it wasn't. Whatever. But as you said, Krem, the bad guy, he was really one note and one dimensional. Just, I don't know who Krem is even after watching the movie, other than just bad. He's just bad. That's about it.
He's just a space pirate.
And even to that point, like, his design wasn't all that intriguing for me. It was too busy, I think, in his face. I think with all like the piercings and stuff that he had, it made him look like all the other pirates that were there too. And he didn't like stand out on his own as like the guy. I also, just as a personal note, I had a problem with the random kryptonite at the end, but because, like, of course there's random kryptonite somewhere. It's Superman, and it just feels like, is that really? Everybody just has to pull that out of their ass at the end? Like, he's a pirate. Where did he get kryptonite? Is he smart? Is he an engineer or something? Did he make this? I don't fucking know. We don't know anything about the guy, and he just whips them out and is like, da 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 da, kryptonite, bitch. I know all about you. And how? I don't know. I didn't like that part of it. I think there was a lot of the movie that was just not very well put together or explained from a writing standpoint.
The bigger reason why I like Millie Alcock is she reminds me of Florence Pugh. And what I find is so similar between those two actresses is, I almost said actors, actresses, is that I think they really find the humanity within their character, and they just act like normal humans. Like, their behavior, they're just little mannerisms, and they're not afraid to bring that to screen and just be a little bit bold and daring in that way. And so I just appreciate those moments that just feel relatable.
All right, the last thing I want to touch on is the music, because I thought the score for Supergirl was really cool. I thought the symphonic themes that it had were close enough to Superman, which I also really, really enjoyed, while being distinct enough that it made it feel like it wasn't just a rehash of the Superman theme. That being said, I believe that this movie has one of the most egregious needle drops in cinema history in the last fight scene, where you have a whole bunch of these brigands circling Ruthie's character, and Supergirl comes out and she gets to go and fight him, and there's this really acoustic version of the middle, and it really took me out of it. It felt like just a slap in the face, and it made the whole scene just become a weird out-of-body experience. And there were other people in the theater who kind of had a more guttural reaction to it, like, oh, like I heard that in the theater, like, oh, what's going on here? And I can't get that moment out of my head, and being like, what were they thinking with that? That was just so odd, to the point where, like, it's been a big internet topic since then. And there was somebody who dubbed over like the Superman theme from last year into that moment, and it felt right. It felt better, and it feels like such a missed opportunity to have that iconic score become iconic and have a piece of music then associate with Supergirl that's her own, that's her original, that is that tone. And just a missed opportunity there, and it did lose some points in the music department for me because of that.
So I didn't have the audible gasp that everyone else has. I know what you're talking about, though. I thought the music in general just kind of really fell flat for me. I thought it did its job, but something like Supergirl, especially when this is a new version of Supergirl, like this is the new version of DC Universe. I want a theme. And I never got a theme. Like, it needed a Ludwig Göransson coming in to Mandalorian and having like that cool moment that you hear in Shakir that just like you just want to groove to type of thing. And that's where that fight at the end, it really needed to really highlight what is the theme of Supergirl. And I don't know what it is. I'm surprised that a lot of people are talking about it online. I don't think people talk about music scores all that in depth or get that heated about things. So that surprises me, but I'm glad that gets brought up then, because that needs to be addressed and moving forward.
All right, as always, don't just take our word for it. Let's see what the internet has to say. Looking around at audience scores, it looks like everybody's landing at about a 7 out of 10. And then critically, it's a bit lower at a 5.5 out of 10. So we're just even a little bit underneath that. Here's a negative review, a 1 out of 10. And it's actually pretty even on the likes and dislikes for this review. So, a frustrating waste of a great character. I went in wanting to love this and left bitterly disappointed. The casting sinks from the start. Millie Alcock just isn't right for Supergirl and never sells the part. And once you stop believing in the lead, there's nothing left to hold on to. The look of the film makes it worse because it's shot so dark that you can barely see anything, which is a bizarre choice for a hero defined by sunlight. The villains bring nothing too, with no real backstory or menace to make them feel like a threat. Worst of all is the writing, which is flat and lifeless, full of dialogue that clunks and a story that never builds to anything. I expect the critics to be generous, but I'd be amazed if regular audiences feel the same once they've paid for a ticket. A real letdown that I can't recommend. Again, we've already said that Millie Alcock is perfect. I thought she was a great Supergirl.
I really enjoyed her. Yeah, I want to see her in more stuff.
It is a little dark. I don't think it's like overwhelming.
I don't recall it
dark.
being. I mean, like when I think of dark, I think of season 8 Game of Thrones, and that was dark.
Yeah, exactly. I was just gonna say that.
You literally had to turn the brightness up on your TV. I didn't have issues seeing things in this film.
You know what it was? They didn't go see it in Dolby Atmos. reviews.
I mean, it comes down to the quality. I mean, if they went to like some mom and pop theater or something in their town or something like that got a showing, a lot of times like that can be like maybe a darker projector.
I think they were right about the writing being kind of flat and clunky. But overall, I don't agree with what this has to say. I think it's a very okay movie. Hence the 5.
I would imagine too. If we look at either side, there's going to be points that we agree with and there's going to be points that we disagree with. To say that Millie Alcock didn't fit the role is very surprising to me. I would be curious what kind of person, actress that they would expect in this type of role. I like that she brought some originality to her character and some life to it. So
with that, thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. Leave a comment down below if you haven't already. And remember, we're just 2 regular dudes
doing regular reviews. America really sucks at being American. I gotta tell you, we suck at soccer. We're supposed to be the best at all these things. We're only best at the stuff that no one else has.